Good morning, Victoria. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Monday and happy International Women's Day.
Hey, same to you here. So, everyone, I have Victoria Boston on, and we're celebrating International Women's History Month, right? As well as today is the start of that. So, Victoria, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Good morning again, Victoria Boston, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Very proud of that. My dad still lives in the home we grew up in, so there's a lot of pride there. I've been in the telecommunications industry for well over 30 years. I spent about 25 years with Verizon and left there in 2015 to do some nonprofit work with my daughter and son in law in Compton, California, to support at risk youth. And then I did about a year at Frontier Communications. And lastly, I've been at Comcast, NBC Universal for the past a little over 3 years as the division vice president for Loyalty Centers of Excellence based in Denver, Colorado.
So, you've been around this park a few times, right?
I have indeed.
Amazing, amazing. So, Victoria, I just want to start off. I want to ask you, what inspires you the most, and tell me a little bit about, why it inspires you, right?
Yeah, thank you for that. So many sources of inspiration, life itself, but I would say in this current moment, right? Because there's seasons, but in this current moment, it's my two little grandbabies. They're 3 and 4, and I just see their faces every day. And I want to make sure that there's a better world for them in the future than the one that is standing today. And so that's what inspires me to get up and to fight every day and to make sure that there's a seat at the table for every woman, brown, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. It's International Women's Day. And so for me, that's a seat at the table for every single woman who wants one. And that's what inspires me.
Thank you. And it does. It really has to start at home, right?
That's right.
Right. And you teach them, and then they go out into the world and they be a fantastic leader as yourself, right? So we definitely and when I say when you say what inspires you and you said your grandchildren, I thought about my kids at home because you have to teach them. They
Absolutely.
say teach them up, right?
Yes.
And you have
Yes.
to definitely start at home. So thank you for that. That's amazing. So when you're away from your amazing grandkids, right? So when you're at work or in, what qualities do you think you should have to be an awesome leader, right? So especially as a woman, so what qualities do you think that you have to have?
Yeah, I think this one's universal, no matter the gender. I would say a servant leader mindset, right? I learned very early in my career that I wasn't in leadership to be served, I was in leadership to serve. And so once I really understood that concept, it changed everything. I also think being able to build and maintain and foster really meaningful relationships because you get things done through people. I learned that from my dad at a very early age and my mom as well. So relationships. And then I think a big one for me, it's really a non-negotiable, is teamwork. We get things done together. And so I'm not interested in a lone ranger. I'm not interested in someone who's out there doing their own thing, but really someone who sees the team and the greater good of the team as a top priority. So I would say, the servant leadership, teamwork, relationship, able to build relationships. And then, of course, table stakes is delivering results, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not so much about effort, but it's about the points we put on the board.
No, absolutely. And thank you so much for that. So in your early career, what made you say, hey, I want to be that next person. I want to take that person's position. I want to be that person because I'm sure you've taken a lot of positions in your career, right? I definitely see everything you have done on LinkedIn, right? So what made you say, starting in this industry, hey, I want to be that person and I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this change. So what
Yeah.
was your turning point?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I will say early in my career, I didn't seek out leadership. I didn't even see leadership qualities in myself. I was a frontline agent on the phones. I love serving customers. That was my second job. Back then, it was CMP Telephone Company of Maryland, then Bell Atlantic, then Verizon. So my very first job was a general clerk, supporting yellow pages and white pages, which many people, what is a yellow page and white page? What is a phone book? My
Right.
daughter turned 32 yesterday, and she has zero recollection of a phone book because when she was a baby, they were booster seats, right? They were starting to become obsolete. Very first job was a general clerk, and then that job, of course, faded out because phone books were going away. And I moved into the sales and service rep or consultant, as we called it at Verizon, on the front line. And I just love talking to customers. And I didn't even realize that there were leadership qualities until someone pointed them out in me and said, "You are so good at this, you should be a trainer and help teach our new hires." And so that was sort of my first entree into leadership. And then from there, it kept growing. And it was leaders who saw something in me that connected me to what was possible. And so, you know, returning the favor, I always wanted to do the same because I just remember being on that front line thinking, wow, if someone didn't tap me on the shoulder, would I still be sitting in that seat today? And it's a great seat, but clearly others saw that I had more to offer. And so it wasn't so much me saying, "Oh, I want to be just like that leader, or I want to be that site director, or I want to be the vice president." Those thoughts really honestly never crossed my mind. Also, I would say is that in the earlier days of my career, I didn't see women who looked like me. And representation matters. So I wouldn't have even thought that it was possible because I didn't see it. But thankfully, there were other people that saw things in me. And I will tell you, for companies that have employee resource groups, or ERGs, as we call them in Verizon and we call them at Comcast, it's game changing because it gives our employees at all levels an opportunity to work on projects and get career development skills and interact with people they normally wouldn't. And then you become exposed to other people that can see your talent, skills, and abilities. So I would say for me, it was really someone seeing something in me earlier on versus me identifying, oh, that's what I want to do next, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You know what? I definitely relate to that right there because when I first started in the industry, you know, back 20, 30 years ago, who thought of a call center being one of the leading industries, right?
Sure.
That's out here. You know, call center is one of the leading industries in the world right now, right? And when I first started, I actually just jumped on the phone like, oh, I'll just take this base pay. And I had a leader that really invested in me, right? And that leader invested in me. And like you, I thought, oh, I got all of this investment. I'm never going to just be another person in the seat, you know?
Yeah,
So I wanted to now be a trainer because I wanted to invest in other people.
I
So when
love
you
it.
said that you went from the agent to the trainer, I was like, I think this is my twin in leadership here, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, there are
and
lots
that's
of
where I've
parallels.
been, right? And that's where I've definitely been. You know, I've been in training for over 15 years. I just moved over to the operations manager way of life, right? So different world, right? But when you said that,
Still influencing, still impacting people's lives and
absolutely,
grow their career. It's so important.
absolutely, right? So you go from being in the front line as a trainer to being the next line from training, right? And you
Yes,
still have leaders that you have to develop. Now you have these training skills, and you could put that with your team to get them where you need them to be, right? So I'm
absolutely.
sure that that's where you're at as well, right? Um, so wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. Uh, so I wanted to ask you, are there any assumptions about women that you would like to change?
Plenty. The one that comes to mind is that we're just so emotional. Women are just so emotional, and maybe we are emotional beings, but what I do know is when you have diverse representation at the table, all the studies show that companies do better, whether it's in profitability, whether it's in innovation, you name it. When you have men and women, people of color, doesn't matter the background, the ethnicity, sexual orientation, all those things, companies win. So I do know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a winning solution. But I would say to your question, don't write us off because we're emotional or deemed emotional. Lean into that and really get the best out of the women on your team because we have so much to offer.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Everyone has their own assumptions about women, right? But you really, really, really have to get to know a woman professionally and on a personal level, right? To really understand. So I thought that was a big ask at this moment, right? Because at some point we do have to change the assumptions that some people have with women, right?
Sure.
From being, there cannot be a woman leader. Sometimes our women leaders are amazing, right?
Absolutely.
And we have to, like you said, we have to hold on to that and put that in the forefront because it can make an amazing company, more diverse company. And, it gets people to think because as women, we sometimes think differently, right?
That's right. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And we
it's
have
our
to put our
differences
piece
that
there.
make us great. It's not
Absolutely.
our similarities. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, so if you could learn anything to do anything else, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, I was just thinking yesterday, because my grandchildren, especially my grandson, he just loves airplanes. He loves to fly. He's been flying since he was a baby. And he's just fascinated by airplanes and helicopters. And so yesterday I had the opportunity to take him over to a local airport. And we just sat in the parking lot and we looked at the different helicopters on the tarmac and looked at the airplanes. And then I saw this big sign and it said flight school. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be super cool if I just had a little bit of discretionary time to take some flight classes. So I would say if I had time, or if I could make the time in this moment, I would love, and it's interesting because I used to tell my dad growing up, I think I'm gonna be a pilot. I think I'm gonna go into the Air Force and be a pilot. And then, life happened. So I think that's what I would do. I would learn how to fly.
Oh, well, that's amazing. And what, that's a great talent to have. And even more so, your grandson, your grandchildren would definitely look up to you even more like, oh my God, I love this.
Right.
And I can get, and grandma flew me to this place, right? So
exactly right.
That's definitely something to brag about, right? Thank you for that, Victoria. Now,
Yes.
What do you believe the biggest challenge for the generation of women behind you is?
Yeah, I think the challenge for us is to just really understand our worth and really know our value and know that so many women before us have made such incredible contributions to society and to the world in which we're in. And I would say that we're more than enough, right? Sometimes we second guess that. Sometimes we question our worth. Sometimes we question our value. Sometimes we feel invisible. We feel dismissed. We feel unheard. And so I would say to the next generation of women, work together. There's nothing worse than division. So work together and know that we can work shoulder to shoulder and hand to hand with our male counterparts. They're not the enemy. I've had so many male champions in my life, personally, professionally. And so, how do we continue to sit at the table with them and create a better workplace, a better community, a better world in which we live? But for the women specifically, to really stand together and to support each other and to really understand our worth, our value. And when you know that, everything changes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And,
Yep,
I want to just add to that, sometimes we have to learn to take a leap of faith, right? Sometimes when you just sit and bottle yourself up, you may lose some of those bigger opportunities. So you have to take a leap of faith and just go out there. Failure is a part of being an adult, right?
Yes.
Failure is a part of living, right? So you
Fail
have
fast
to
and keep moving.
definitely. So that's my piece that I want to add to that, right? You have to be ready to fail, because those failures make you the better person, right? Because you know, hey, I won't do that piece again, but let me try it again, and let me do it in this manner. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I would go back and add one other thing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think it's so important, and I would be remiss if I don't call it out. It is also essential, like mission critical, that we also reach back and pull others along. And so as we rise together and stand together and work together to create a better future, we can't forget to reach our hand back out and pull others along. It's so important.
No, absolutely, because you didn't make it here alone. Someone pulled you in.
Sure.
You know,
that's right. No one does. Newsflash, no one does.
Absolutely. So you have to definitely give other people a chance, just like you were given a chance, right? Your first job, that was someone giving you a chance, right?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we do that. So thank you for that. That's very, very important, right?
It is. And the other thing you asked about a narrative, I'll just double back on that for a second. To mine, is that the notion that women or people of color are risky business. No, in fact, we're smart business.
Absolutely.
You don't have to take a chance on me. You don't have to take a chance on a woman. We're skilled, we're educated, we're talented, we're gifted, we're innovative, we're creative. And so it's not a chance, it's not risky, it's smart business. So I would like to change that narrative too.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. That's a very important piece to add there, right?
Yes.
So thank you, Victoria, for that. So as we come to a close here, I wanted to know, what did you think about the last part of the Amend movie?
Yeah, so Netflix, shout out to you, Netflix, 6-part limited series entitled Amend. Focus on the 14th Amendment that I will tell you, I don't recall learning much about in school. I don't recall hearing much about the 14th Amendment. I hear a lot about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. I hear a lot about the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, but not so much the 14th Amendment, right? Equality and justice for all. And so I would say to anyone watching, if you have an opportunity, tune in. Netflix did an incredible job. It's moderated by Will Smith. Very well done, very thoughtful. And I will tell you, if you can't watch all 6 parts, just tune into the last 13 minutes of part 6, because I think it summarizes why it's so important that we create equity and equality and justice for all. And we know the late Dr. Martin Luther King talks about a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, right? And so it's so important that we understand that standing up for marginalized groups or standing up for our Asian communities who are experiencing a lot of hate crime right now. Asian hate crime is up 1,900%. And standing up for them and standing with them doesn't dismiss anyone else. A candle loses nothing, lighting another candle. And so I'm just so proud of the work that Netflix has done with that limited series. It is powerful because it just reminds us, it talks about gay rights and equal pay rights and women's right and, just everybody, like everybody should have an equal opportunity. And
absolutely.
Unfortunately, the 14th Amendment has not been actualized to the fullest extent. And so I would just definitely put a plug in for folks to take a look at it. It's really well worth the time and really well done.
And I like the statement right at the beginning of that last part where it says, words are power.
Yes.
Right. So we have to always think of that, words are power. And especially in this industry, it's 100%. It's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes. And it's a portion of sometimes is what you say. You have to watch what you say.
That's right.
And if you don't, those words, lose the power.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was the one piece that definitely caught my eye when they said words are power, words
That's
are power. And they said it, and then they went into the outro of, the last portion of that. So that's one of the things that I just want to leave people with, words are powerful, right?
Absolutely.
So we definitely have to make sure that what we say is used in a context of understanding and not to degrade anyone, women,
That's right.
Women, kids, race, religion,
Absolutely.
gender, and things of that nature. So that's my one thing that I would like to leave everyone with, and I'll say it
That's
again,
awesome.
words are power.
Yes.
And thank you so much for this moment, Victoria.
Thank
You are
you.
definitely amazing. And I really appreciate you taking this time this morning to talk about Women's History Month and Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you are too. Thanks for creating the space.
All right, no problem.